At sunrise, the skyline of New York hangs from steel. The Brooklyn Bridge has stood for more than 140 years, through blizzards, hurricanes, heat waves, salt air, and the daily weight of over 100,000 crossings. Cars, trucks, buses, footsteps, all of it suspended above the East River by 4 cables just under 16 inches thick. Each cable isn't a solid bar. It's made from 5,434 individual steel wires, each one thinner than a pencil, spun together high above the water, pulled tight enough to carry tens of thousands of tons without snapping. Individually, a single wire can be bent in your hands. Together, they can hold up a city. No massive beams spanning the river. No hidden support columns beneath the water. Just thousands of wires, twisted, tensioned, and engineered so precisely that they behave like a single living tendon stretched across the sky. This is steel cable. It doesn't just lift cranes. It doesn't just hold elevators. It holds skylines. And today we're going inside the factories that make it, from blasted rock in an open pit mine to one of the strongest, most trusted materials ever engineered by human hands. Steel wire rope wasn't born in a laboratory. It was born out of desperation. In the 1830s, German miners were pushing deeper underground than ever before. The hemp ropes lowering men and equipment into the earth were failing, snapping under loads they were never designed to carry. Engineer Wilhelm Albert made a simple but radical change. He twisted iron wires together instead. The loads increased. Reliability improved dramatically, and modern wire rope was born. 2 centuries later, that same principle quietly holds up the modern world. Every year, millions of tons of steel cable are produced globally, suspending bridges, lifting elevators and skyscrapers, anchoring offshore oil platforms, and deploying wind turbines at sea. A single cable, just a few inches thick, can carry hundreds of tons. That ratio of size to strength is what makes this material one of the great unsung marvels of engineering. So how does it get that strong? It starts with the earth itself. Everything begins in open-pit iron ore mines, massive excavations stretching for miles in every direction. High-powered drills bore deep into rock, placing explosive charges with surgical precision. When the blast fires, hundreds of tons of ore fracture at once, and hydraulic excavators move in to load it onto haul trucks the size of houses. Those trucks run in an unbroken loop, feeding conveyor systems that stretch for hundreds of yards. Along the way, vibrating screens and magnetic separators strip out sand, clay, and coarse debris, leaving behind concentrated raw material ready for processing. Day and night, the mines run at full capacity to keep material flowing downstream to the steel mill. At the steel mill, the transformation begins in earnest. In many modern plants, recycled scrap steel and direct reduced iron are fed into a towering electric arc furnace. In traditional integrated mills, iron ore is first reduced to molten iron in a blast furnace before being refined into steel. Inside the electric arc furnace, graphite electrodes channel currents so powerful they generate temperatures exceeding 2,900 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to turn solid metal into a churning, glowing river of liquid steel. But molten metal alone isn't enough. This is where metallurgy takes over. Engineers carefully dose the melt with specific alloying elements: manganese to increase tensile strength, chromium or nickel to resist corrosion, silicon to control structure and ductility. A controlled mixture of lime and fluxes forms a layer of slag that floats to the surface like a liquid shield, drawing out impurities and leaving the steel cleaner and stronger with every passing minute. Once the chemistry hits its exact target, verified in real time by spectrometers, the steel moves to casting. Instead of pouring into molds one batch at a time, modern mills use continuous casting. Molten steel flows into water-cooled copper molds, where the outer shell solidifies instantly while the core remains liquid, hardening from the outside in, like a river freezing over. The result, solid steel billets, still glowing at hundreds of degrees, fed directly into rolling while they still carry enough heat to be shaped. In the rolling mill, Those billets are squeezed between enormous alloy steel rollers. Each pass compresses the steel and stretches it longer. While hot, the metal remains ductile, deforming without cracking. Pass by pass, it transforms from a heavy block into long, round rods. Then comes cold drawing, where precision becomes everything. The rods are pulled through hardened steel dies with progressively smaller openings. Each die reduces the diameter slightly. Each reduction increases strength. This happens at room temperature. The forces are enormous. The tolerances are measured in thousandths of an inch. Laser gauges monitor wire diameter continuously, feeding corrections back into the drawing system in real time. A deviation of even a few 10,000ths of an inch is enough to flag the wire for inspection. At this stage, strength begins to climb dramatically, not from added material, but from the internal structure tightening under strain. Precise dimensions give the wire its shape. Heat treatment gives it its character. The wire passes through a controlled furnace and is brought to temperatures between 1,450 and 1,830 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, the atmosphere is carefully regulated because this process fundamentally reshapes the steel's internal grain structure. Too hard and the wire becomes brittle. Too soft and it won't hold its load. At the exact moment the target structure forms, the wire exits into a rapid cooling zone. Air jets or specialized oil baths, locking that structure in place. Now comes protection. For most applications, the wire is hot-dip galvanized, drawn through molten zinc that forms a metallurgical bond with the steel surface. In marine or chemical environments, additional polymer coatings may be applied. Before coating, the wire is acid cleaned down to bare metal. Even microscopic contamination can cause failure years later, because a compromised wire is a failed cable. Now the transformation becomes visible. Dozens of finished wires are loaded onto a massive stranding machine. As it rotates, each spool orbits a central core in a synchronized helical pattern. Wire after wire lays into place under precisely controlled tension. The core depends on the application. An independent steel core handles the highest tensile loads, common in cranes, elevators, and suspension systems. A synthetic fiber core, often polypropylene, makes the cable lighter and more flexible, useful where corrosion resistance matters more than maximum load. Wires are first twisted into strands, then strands are twisted around the core. Layer by layer, the cable builds outward, engineered to balance strength, flexibility, fatigue resistance, and abrasion performance. Sensors monitor twist angle and tension continuously. Before leaving the line, the finished cable is flooded with lubricant, penetrating deep into the microscopic gaps between wires. Because any dry pocket inside the cable is a future failure point waiting to happen. Then comes proof. From every production batch, sample cables are pulled to destruction, stretched with increasing force until they finally snap, establishing the true breaking strength of that run. Additional samples are flexed thousands of times under load, simulating years of bending fatigue. Sensors measure elongation, internal consistency, and structural behavior under stress. If the numbers don't match specification, the batch doesn't ship. Only certified cable moves forward. It's wound onto massive reels under computer-controlled tension, sealed against moisture, labeled with full traceability, and loaded for transport. From factory floor to construction site, from rock blasted out of the earth to a cable capable of carrying hundreds of tons, every step in this process exists to eliminate one thing: uncertainty. Because when a cable suspends a bridge over a river or lifts an elevator 80 stories above the ground, there is no room for probably strong enough. Only precision, only proof, only steel, engineered to its limits. If you want more deep dives into the mega machines and mega structures shaping our world, subscribe to Man-Made Marvels and tell us in the comments, which stage of this process surprised you the most?